Back to Kentucky now. The military wife murder trial. Jordan Henning. He is accused of murdering his military wife, Sergeant First Class Ashley Henning, at their home on her birthday back in 2023.
And the jury's already heard Henning confess to the shooting of his wife. During his arrest, he told police that he had endured years of abuse by his wife and he couldn't take it anymore. On the stand, we have a neighbor, friend, and a storyteller, and it is fascinating. She's still on direct examination. Sidebar is broken up. Let's go back and pick it up at that moment.
Just mention, if there's an objection, I'll need to, that's why I stopped you. Okay. If there's objection, I got to rule upon that before I let you continue. That's why I told you not to manage. Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. So you told us what Mr. Henning said about it. What did Ashley say about the marital problem?
Ashley's take was her and Jordan had, you know, they obviously were going through bumps. Because we even joked about they just had their 7th-year anniversary, and I gave them a gift bag full of like Vagisil, Gold Bond, because the 7-year itch, right? So I told, you know, she said it's marriage problems, it's the normal stuff, you know. She goes, because when I brought up to her the fact that, you know, the intimacy with Jordan, the sex with Jordan, you know, she said, the thing is, Jamie, she goes, honestly, she goes, I don't be with him because everything he does is for sex. She goes, the niceness and the things he does, I don't know if he's doing it because he's being genuine or if he's doing it to get sex. And she goes, and every time we have sex, she goes, everything changes. He goes back to, like, I took it as he would be nice and he would do things for her, but as soon as she gave in and had sex with him or she'd have sex with him.
Judge, I make the same objection.
That then he would go back not being nice to her. That the only time he was nice to her is when he wanted to have sex with her. So she did not feel that Jordan's actions of niceness was genuine.
Did you ever see or know of any previous acts of violence between them?
That evening, as we were in the outside before we left, and this is pretty much what shut it down to where we were like, okay, we're done, we're going home. As I said, Jordan was over there. He was like in everybody's face talking about this. He took a step beside Ashley, and he took his hand was like this, and he grabbed her behind the back of her neck like this. And she did like this, like she kind of like brushed him off like that. And she said, okay guys, I'm going to bed. But that's how Ashley was. Anytime Jordan would even say anything that was aggressive or mean, she'd be like, she'd walk away. She never engaged. And we were at a Lou City game, as I mentioned, we did life together. We were at a Lou City game. Jordan had drunk a good bit at the game. And as we were leaving the game, he wanted the keys to drive. Well, they had Carter and all of them, you know, a kid. And she's like, no, you're not driving home, Jordan. And he was mad that she was not giving him the keys to drive back from Louisville. And so as Ashley got in the driver's side, Jordan's standing there still wanting the keys. And she's like, I'm not giving you the keys. And her foot was like out the door still. And as it was by mere luck that she lifted her foot because Jordan took the door and he just slammed it so hard on her. And I looked at my husband, like he didn't hit her. He did not hit her.
So he didn't hit her?
No, it did not hit her leg, but if she wouldn't have moved her leg the very second she did, he would have closed the door. But the anger behind him slamming the door on her because she would not give him the keys to drive when he was drunk, to drive their family home.
Otherwise, no other signs of physical violence?
No.
I could have just a second.
Ma'am, obviously, you considered yourself a great friend of Ashley's, correct?
Yes.
And as a matter of fact, when you were interviewed by police, you told them in the first interview that you said you wanted to be there for trial. Do you recall stating that?
Yes.
And that you wanted to give an impact statement. Do you recall stating that?
I absolutely did.
All right. So, in fact, you were upset police hadn't talked to you, reached out to you immediately. Do you remember saying that?
Yes, because I was there, so why wouldn't they have?
Right. So they didn't reach out to you immediately. You wanted them to talk to you immediately. You already were talking about victim impact statements. You wanted to be, in fact, you said you weren't going to move until there was trial. You were planning to move. You're going to stay here until there was trial, correct?
I said that could possibly be the case. I didn't know, because if my husband got a job, I'd have had to move. I didn't get to dictate that.
Right, but I understand. But you said they planned to move to Virginia, but we're going to be here. Make sure you're here for the trial, correct?
I don't have to live here to be here for the trial. There's plenty of people here today that's here not because they live here.
Right, I understand that. But the way you put it is, and we have a transcript here,
okay,
that you are going to move, that you're going to move to Virginia, but you're going to stay here until the trial.
So am I moving or am I staying?
Pardon me?
You're saying both. Which am I doing? Am I moving or staying? Because you're kind of saying I'm doing both. So
no, I'm not. I'm asking you. You said you were planning to move to Virginia, and but I want to be here for any trial. And if we get that far in the trial, I guess I'll give the statements like the victim impact statements. Correct? Is that what you said? You're already talking about victim impact.
Yes, because
right.
there's a victim in this.
Right.
Her children are victims in this.
I understand.
And I've seen what those children went through, unlike you, unlike Jordan, unlike a lot of people in here.
Ma'am?
So yes, there was victims. I was victim in this too, because I had to deal with the repercussions, unlike you that's reading off a sheet of paper.
Well, ma'am, let me ask you this, okay? I'd be happy to ask you this. You have been to court before, correct, in connection with other things? You're a guardian ad litem.
I was a guardian ad litem.
Yeah. So you've been to court,
yes.
correct?
Yes, I have.
You're familiar with court.
I sure am.
You're familiar with testifying, correct?
I sure am.
You've testified before, correct?
Yes, I have.
Okay, you're not someone who's going to be afraid or overcome or awed by the court system because
absolutely not.
Right, because you're part of it, and you've testified regarding families and children and so forth, correct?
I was an advocate for children, just like I'm an advocate here today to tell my side of what happened and to tell the repercussions of what happened afterwards of Ashley's children and who Ashley was as a person.
Right, but you have to answer questions because you're a witness. Okay,
exactly.
So I'll ask you questions, and if you could please answer.
I'm doing that.
You've talked about how you familiar with the court system, not awed by the court system, and that's clearly the case, and you'll come in and basically feel comfortable in court, correct?
Correct.
All right. Now, police interviewed you. You have testified something that would really be very important and upset anybody, that Jordan had talked about saying, oh, if he killed somebody, he could claim EED and so forth and get away with it. Isn't that what you said, essentially?
No, I don't know what EED is. I said said he could claim PTSD and say he had a rage moment. So I don't know what you're talking about with EED. So no, you're incorrect.
Whoo, she's a doozy. It's always great.
Speaks her mind. It's
she
surprising that she is used to testifying, because it sounds like she is just going to say what she feels.
Yeah, and it's interesting the judge is not, he's letting this go. He's not, some judges would be like, ma'am, settle down, you're not going to take over my courtroom. Megan Whiteside, what do you think of this witness on the stand?
Well, I have to, it brings a smile to my face, because everybody who's tried cases has had witnesses who think that they know everything that's going on and are going to say what they want to say no matter what. And you can tell that this witness feels strongly that it's important to be there. And so what's going to be interesting, I wish we could see the jury's reaction to her, because a witness like this will go one of two ways. The jury will stand on her side and believe that she's on the side of the right because she is standing her ground. She cannot be swayed. She remembers very specific details about social interactions before the night in question. She clearly cares for Ashley's children and what has happened in the aftermath of this alleged murder. Or the jury could be really upset and find her to be obnoxious and disrespectful to the court system. And so that judge in the room is reading, like you said, some judges will let you try your case and let the witnesses have a lot of leeway, and some judges will intervene. This judge is letting this witness really say what she wants to say. But I will say that her strength in her conviction and her testimony can be very persuasive. She remembers specific details. Now, the defense is going to try to paint her as biased because she was Ashley's friend, but the devil is in the details. And if you have somebody who was there and remembers very specific actions that the defendant took, things that were said, things that have been said in the past or done in the past, this is really undercutting the whole defense that he is some battered spouse or victim, when the details she's sharing in these stories are very compelling about a very strong and aggressive man. Those two things can't coexist.
And Megan, I like what you said about we don't know what the jury is thinking. We don't see their faces. But one thing that's unique about this Kentucky courtroom is we're going to hear the jury get to ask their questions. So that's going to happen after the cross and the redirect. We will hear and perhaps get an idea of what they think about this witness.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's go to break, and then we'll get more of this friend on the stand. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. Thank you for being with us as we track several courtrooms. We're going to get you back into that courtroom in Kentucky in just a moment. But first, a quick update out of California. The celebrity stylist murder trial for Monica Cementelli is underway.
Prosecutors say that Cementelli conspired with her lover, Robert Baker, the former porn star, to kill her famed hairstyle husband, Fabio. Why? To continue their relationship and pick up $1.6 million in life insurance.
And we are in the defense case, so it's Monica's defense team that is taking over inside the courtroom. And they called her sister to the stand earlier today, a return from yesterday, where she testified that Monica and Fabio had a good relationship despite Monica's affair.
You mentioned the state of their relationship. You were asked about the state of their relationship, Fabio and Monica, the time that you knew them. And you stated that they were very happy, they had a great marriage. That's what you observed, right?
That's correct.
Would you consider somebody who had been having an affair on their husband for over a year a great marriage?
Would I consider that?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so do you still think they had a great marriage?
I still think it's very complicated.
It's complicated?
Yes.
In a great marriage kind of way?
Sustained.
Do you consider them to have a great marriage now?
I still...
It's overruled.
I still think they had a great marriage.
Okay.
Yes. It is possible to love someone and cheat on them at the same time. It happens all the time.
All right. So that was a great marriage. Okay.
Okay, we'll have more testimony in this case from Monica Cementelli's sister next hour. Plus, we're waiting for Robert Baker to take the stand. He is the co-conspirator and ex-lover of the defendant.
Well, let's get you back, though, to that Kentucky courtroom for the military wife murder trial where Jordan Henning is accused of murdering his military wife, Sergeant First Class Ashley Henning. This was at their home on her birthday back in 2023.
In court, the jury heard Henning confess to the shooting of his wife during his arrest, saying, yeah, he did it, but he had endured years of abuse at the hands of his wife, and he snapped. Well, right now we have a friend of Ashley Henning. She's on the stand, and boy, she is telling a much different tale in terms of the relationship that she witnessed between the two. Let's go back in, still cross-examination.
Ma'am, let me ask you this. He could claim PTSD.
Yes.
And because of that, he could claim uncontrollable rage and insanity. That's what he told you.
No, he did not go into detail. He said, I can claim PTSD, and I can also say I went into a rage because I take testosterone injections.
Well,
and people with testosterone have a tendency to sometimes rage, he said. That was his words. He didn't go into the scientific things of what PTSD was or anything of that nature. So no,
well, I got that, but I'm going to read from the Commonwealth's notice. He indicated he could get away with it by claiming he has PTSD and is prescribed testosterone, and because of that, he could claim uncontrollable rage and insanity. That's the...
Yes.
All right. Now, that obviously would be highly relevant to any prosecution of Jordan Henning, correct?
I think it'd be important to anybody in the case.
Sure, it'd be crucial information to have that the defendant said before the homicide. Hey, not that he was talking about the homicide, but boy, if I killed anybody, I could claim PTSD and uncontrollable rage, right?
Yeah.
All right. And I gotta ask you, ma'am, you were interviewed by the Commonwealth back in July of 23, correct?
Yes.
After the homicide, correct? After the incident.
Well, it was a few weeks after.
Right. And it's a very long interview, I think 30 transcribed pages, correct?
Well, I don't know what you determine as long. I mean, because it was maybe...
Well, it wasn't 1 or 2 pages. It wasn't a quick 1 or 2 words, correct?
Well, I don't know how many pages it was because I wasn't typing it out. I mean, I sat there and gave my statement, and it was probably a 45-minute incident. So however long it took...
45 minutes with the police telling them what you knew about the case, correct?
Yes.
All right. And the police, of course, wanted to know, correct, what you knew about the case, correct?
Well, they asked me about that day. They didn't ask me about the case. They didn't ask me about... It was about that day.
Oh, you talked about a lot of things. Seeing him before, the friendship, how much you had to drink, how you bonded over soccer. You talked about the whole thing, correct?
Because like today, they asked, how did I know Ashley? Well, they led up with what happened that day. Was I there? Tell me what I knew. And then at the end of them actually asking me about that day, I mean, we got the transcripts, they said, is there anything else you'd like to tell us that would be pertinent information or that you think would be beneficial to us understanding Ashley and Jordan and what happened or might have led up to that day?
All right, what did you say?
Verbatim, word for word, I don't know. I said a lot. I mean, you said it was, what, 30-something pages?
Right.
So can you tell me what I said? And I'll tell you if I did say it or not.
Well, I'll just ask you what you didn't say.
Okay.
You never mentioned that he said before that he could kill somebody and get away with it. In the entire conversation, you're one of her best friends. You're talking to police. It's soon after the homicide. You never mentioned it.
Never mentioned...
You never mentioned the statement that he could get away with a homicide by claiming PTSD and testosterone and uncontrollable rage. You never mentioned it to police.
Because let's be real. Who thinks that someone's going to kill someone I mean, was it premeditation at that point? I don't know. I didn't even think about it at that point in time, honestly, because you know what I was doing? I was trying to tell what happened that day, my relationship with Ashley, and I didn't think you were going to sit there and try to get him off on an insanity plea either, which when I found...
Does the man deserve to be defended, or should we just roll up a white
Why don't we look at the video and you tell me? I mean, but apparently you'll take anything and defend anybody for some amount of money.
Hold on just a second. Mr. Hager.
I don't want too much to,
Well,
that's moving around the courtroom.
Judge, can I approach the benches?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Remain around. One thing is we got to pick up everything that you're asking on that little red microphone.
I got you. I was asking you to approach the benches.
Wow.
What about the demeanor of the judge, though? During all of that, he is just completely calm.
I think
Judge
he likes
Larry
it.
Ashlock.
He's like, oh, wow, okay, a little interesting
Very
day.
fiery. And the passion comes from loving her friend, missing her friend, and being very upset with the defendant, but sometimes that doesn't help when you're being a witness.
She went too far digging defense attorneys.
Oh, yeah, she did come for the defense attorney personally. Let's get to a break. We'll get you back in for more of the military wife murder trial happening in Kentucky. We'll hear more from this witness on Cross.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, new details emerge in the search for an American college student who vanished in the Dominican Republic. We'll bring you the very latest in this developing story.
Closing Arguments with Vinny Politan, tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
Doomsday Cult mom is now lawyer Lori.
She's representing herself
on charges of conspiring to murder her fourth husband.
She said, I can murder you now.
The Cult Mom Conspiracy Trial. Live coverage coming soon, only on Court TV.
We're in Kentucky today watching this fascinating trial, the military wife murder trial. Jordan Henning, accused of murdering his wife, Sergeant First Class Ashley Henning. She was shot. Everybody knows that. He admits it. He claims, though, that she was abusing him for years, physically and mentally, and he just snapped.
And who we're listening to on the stand is a really important witness, someone who was a friend of this wife, a friend of the family. She had private conversations with Jordan Henning where she said he told her at one point he could always claim PTSD and blame it on the testosterone he was taking and get in a rage and get off. Let's go back in. Actually, before we do that, let's bring in trial attorney Megan Whiteside. I want to get her take on what we've seen from this witness because we talked about how it can go both ways with the jury, but it's gotten even more emotional on Cross. Megan.
Yes. And this is a really interesting cross, and I'm going to get technical for just a second, and it's got a point. So on cross, any trial attorney, whether you're on the defense or if you're the government, you're trying to establish that that witness is not a truth teller. And what the defense attorney was trying to do was an impeachment. So trying to take a former statement from this witness, credit that statement saying that was the truth and what you're saying in court is a lie. And that's the purpose of an impeachment. That's the purpose of the exercise. What the defense attorney had was an omission. So the police asked this witness questions, questioning close in time to the alleged murder. She never mentioned that Jordan had this conversation with her about, I can just claim PTSD, right? Which is one of the most explosive parts of her testimony in trial. But what this cross-exam and this impeachment showed us is the importance of witness control. It's one of the hardest parts of litigation. And when you have a hostile witness, someone who's antagonistic to you, how do you get them to answer your questions? And so when he was attempting to do an impeachment by omission, not that she said something that she's contradicting, but that she left it out entirely, that's a tough impeachment to do, just from a trial advocacy standpoint. And so this defense attorney already had very little witness control before going into this impeachment and did not keep his questions short and tight and direct so that she couldn't wiggle out of them. When you're asking long and kind of open-ended questions on cross, it's dangerous because especially with a witness like this, they will go off on a tangent, say what they want to say, and in fact, she actually impugned his character, saying, I guess you'll take any case for a certain amount of money. And so it really shows us if you're going to try to impeach a witness, you got to use really clear, concise, and tight questions. Otherwise, things will go off course like we saw here.
Especially this type of witness with this judge who seems to be giving her a very long rope. Yeah, let's go back in and see where this goes.
I think you stated that, you only talked about the case that day when police interviewed you. But you talked about numerous things, correct? You talked about how you met Ashley, correct?
Because they asked.
Right. You talked about it was an organic friendship, correct?
Yes.
You talked about the kids. You talked about soccer moms. You talked about tons of things over the course of that 30 pages, correct?
I'm assuming yes.
Right. And it's on tape, and the Commonwealth did it. And obviously, you know the man's charged with murder. You knew that, right?
Yeah.
When you gave the statement, in fact,
well, actually, I didn't know that because at that time I didn't know if he was even like, oh yeah, he was charged with murder, but like they were going through the process of trying to figure things. I didn't know what the outcome was going to be. I didn't know what was going to take place. So all I knew was he was charged with murder, because I don't even think there had been like a court hearing or anything prior to the fact that they had talked to me.
But you knew that he was charged with murder, correct?
Rightfully so.
Exactly, and that is obviously your opinion, and you knew he hadn't had trial yet, correct?
Correct.
And you apparently knew that he had some excuse cooked up, but you didn't tell the prosecutor or the police that statement back in July. Did you? 2023, you didn't tell them.
First off, I didn't talk to the police. I've never talked to anyone with the Sheriff's Department. I talked to CID on Fort Knox, which had nothing to do with the case, actually.
They said they did.
No, it was CID. They didn't have much to do with it. They were just on Fort Knox, and they were investigators. And as far as the Commonwealth, the first time I'd spoke with the Commonwealth was a week and a half ago, being told I was going to actually be subpoenaed here. So I did not talk to the Commonwealth. I did not talk to the sheriff, the detective. I did not talk to anybody other than the 2 CID agents that were in that building that day. One interviewed me, and these guys, I don't think really had anything to do with the situation. They said they were simply interviewing me because I guess the detective was out doing some other interviews or something. So they're like, well, you guys are on Fort Knox, so we'll go ahead and interview you guys, and you guys just tell us what happened that day. Tell us. It was a blanket all over, like, just tell us.
When did you first tell the prosecutor? When did you first tell him about this statement that's so damning and so important?
I just told you I spoke to him for the first time a week and a half ago.
When?
About a week and a half ago. I just told you.
How long has the trial been? It's been, the case is 2 years old, and you wait till a week before trial to tell them?
So it's my place to run people down to tell them things, or is it the prosecution and the sheriff department and all there, is it their due diligence to do their job and talk to me? Which is it? It's not my place to run people down.
And ma'am, you know who prosecutes because you're a guardian ad litem, correct?
Do what?
You know who prosecutes cases.
I did not know who the prosecutor was on this case. Absolutely not.
The Commonwealth Attorney's Office, you didn't know they did it?
Well, I knew the appointments I came for his trial or whatever, the pre-hearings and things and all that I showed up to. I don't believe he was at all of them. I didn't even know who it was. I asked people, I said, who's actually trying this case? They said they think the Commonwealth's assistant. Then people said, no, we think it's the actual I did not know who the actual person was leading this case until a week and a half ago when I got a phone call from them saying, we need you to come in.
Did you come to court on the pretrial hearings?
Yes, some of them, not all of them.
How many pretrial hearings did you come to?
2, I believe.
And did you sit in the courtroom?
I did.
All right. And did you see a prosecutor there?
Actually, I don't even know if it was him, but the first one I went to, there was a gentleman talking, and one of the neighbors that came to the trial too, I said, is that the prosecutor? Who is it? And they said, we think that's the detective. So I was under the impression the detective was talking during the first. So like I said, there were people, as you know, a court, there's plenty of people standing up here. I did not know who was the prosecutor or who was not the prosecutor. I did not know who was the detective because I'd never talked to the detective, so I didn't know who was who.
Was it this man here?
No.
So was a detective on the case?
I'm assuming. I don't know. I've never seen the man
Did
before.
you talk to anybody at the table and tell them that information?
I talked to Mr. Carr a week and a half ago. I have not talked to the gentleman in the middle. I have not spoke to, well, actually, yeah, he came through the grand jury room yesterday and said, hey, how are y'all? Y'all need anything? I don't even know who that man is. I honestly don't know his name. The only one I know is the gentleman on the end, Mr. Carr. And like I said, didn't meet him or talk to him until a week and a half ago.
Right. Now, ma'am, this statement that you say the defendant made, all right, did you say you'd kill somebody? Right?
Yes, I did. Absolutely.
So you said you'd kill somebody. Mm-hmm. He agreed, and then all of a sudden now it's worked into he said he could get away with it.
It wasn't worked into anything. That's what was said.
Pardon me?
You said it was worked into it. There wasn't any working into it. That's what was said.
Now, ma'am, let me ask you this. When you got to the party that day, okay, you saw Ashley, is that correct?
Obviously, yes.
And what was her condition?
She was drinking. She was tipsy. She was good.
Was she drunk?
Yes, she was tipsy.
All right. And then, did you drink?
I had 2 mom waters, which is 3.5% alcohol. The whole 6.5 hours I was there, so I wasn't drunk, if that's what you're alluding to.
No, I'm not. Did you take a shot with her?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
We took 1 shot of that big of something. I don't even know what it was.
So she's drunk, you drink with her, I'm not saying you were drunk, correct? Now, this thing where he supposedly grabbed her, and the entire time, and let's go back to this statement, did you ever mention this time where he slammed the car door? And he almost, it would have really hurt her. Did you mention that?
I couldn't hear you. You were walking away.
Did you mention that, man? That slammed the car?
We have to hit the pause button on this testimony from this friend of the victim, but we have more ahead, including what the jury is going to ask the witness to talk about. That'll give us some insight into what they're thinking. We're also going to give you an update on the Monica Cementilli case in California. Stay with us. Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Julia Cheney. Thank you so much for being with us this afternoon as we track several trials here at Court TV. Here's a look. We're in California. The defense's case continues in the celebrity hairstylist murder trial. And the big question today is whether or not the defendant, Monica Cementilli's case, is going to be calling her lover, Robert Baker, to the stand today. Seems like we've been waiting a while for that, but it is expected this afternoon. And in New Hampshire, defendant Jason Levesque is facing a jury in the bad blood shooting trial. Levesque admits to shooting his neighbor during an altercation over snow plowing, but he claims it was in self-defense. And in Kentucky, testimony remains underway in the military wife murder trial for Jordan Henning. The state says he intentionally shot his wife to death on her birthday, although the defense claims that Henning simply snapped in that moment because he was suffering from abuse at the hands of his wife. That's where we're going to begin this hour. We're still on the stand listening to Ashley's friend. Ashley is the victim in this case. Her friend and neighbor is testifying. She's under cross-examination. It has gotten heated between this witness and the defense attorney. Let's pick it up right where we left off.
Do you mention that at all?
To whom and to where?
To police when you're interviewed in July of 23. By the way, you slammed the door and it would have hurt her. Do you mention that incident at all?
They didn't ask me if he had been aggressive with her, so no, I didn't say that. I was strictly telling what happened that day, how I knew Ashley, and how our families interacted. That's what I was telling that day. I was not asked specific questions as of, did you ever see domestic violence? I mean, just like I said here, I never seen Ashley nor Jordan sit there and slug it out.
You never saw any domestic violence between the two, correct? You never saw any.
What's your term of domestic violence?
I'll ask you this. Did you ever see any violent act by him? And you didn't, and that's why you didn't mention it.
I seen him slam the car door.
Did you say that in the...
out of anger.
Did you say that in the statement, ma'am?
Why did I need to?
Is the answer no?
No.
And the answer about him ever being violent, I know you've got the thing where you put the hand on the neck. Do you ever say anything beyond that? Do you ever say the man was violent?
I think I did tell him about him putting his hands on me and getting in my space, and I think I did mention that.
You didn't say he was violent, ma'am. You said, in fact, you were friends.
So, yeah, we were friends.
Yeah.
And there's a line that you cross, and that's what I said earlier. There's a line, even with friends, that people can get too aggressive and too abrasive, and he crossed that line.
But you said you were like him. You want two peas in a pod, right?
Sure enough.
All right. Now, did you ever say he was violent towards her? You got the door slam, which you didn't mention, and you've got the party. Did you mention any other incident in that 45 minutes to an hour?
No, because I've never seen Jordan hit her. If that's what you're getting at, no, I've never seen Jordan hit her, and I've never seen her hit Jordan.
I never hit, push, I mean anything that you saw.
Other than verbal abuse, no. No physical abuse, but there was verbal abuse.
Well, and then, ma'am, you're talking verbal abuse. I asked you physical abuse. There was none. Is that your answer?
I already
there was
said
none.
that. other than the push of the car door and him grabbing her neck that day. I already stated that. Can we look back at the transcripts and quit asking the same questions?
Well, I'll ask what I think I need to ask.
I don't know if I heard. I said, ask the answer, please. Yeah.
I'm trying to.
Objection sustained.
Now, ma'am, when you talk about that day, you left. What time do you think you left?
I left around 9:20, 9:15, 9:20 time frame.
All right. Now, obviously, you wouldn't have left if you thought even your friend was in the slightest danger, correct? No?
No.
All right. So there's absolutely nothing. We've heard about the neck. We've heard about this and that. There was nothing at that party that would lead anyone to believe that anything like this would happen, correct?
Correct.
And nothing like this with Jordan had ever happened before. You've said this car door?
I hope he wouldn't have killed
Pardon me?
somebody before.
What?
I said I would hope he wouldn't have killed somebody before.
I'm not
and
talking
still
about
be
killing.
there.
I mean anything. You hadn't seen anything previous, correct?
Correct.
Was Jordan the one raising Carter?
No, Ashley was raising Carter.
Well, was he acting as the dad?
That he was a father figure, but I think dad is it's a word people earn, not given.
Carter called him dad, correct?
Yeah, because he was the father figure in his life.
I'll move back.
But I don't think dad's and has to have pins in his elbow. I don't think dads, when I think of the term dad, I think of endearing.
Well, you don't know whether he's endearing or not with Carter. You don't know their relationship. Do you just hate him and want to say anything you can against him?
I was friends with Jordan.
I understand that, but you hate him and you'll say anything.
No, what I don't want is I don't want so the truth can be, this trial can be about the truth. The trial can be about who Jordan was, who Ashley was, what the situation was with the kids afterwards. That's what I want done today.
So do we, except
Really?
the kids afterwards, we can't talk about that. But we want to get the truth as well.
Do we?
You don't have to look at them after that.
I didn't look at them, actually. I was looking out there in the thing because they're smirking. And when you're talking to me, I look at you.
Ma'am. When you first talk with police, let's say with the authorities, you already talked about how you wanted to be in the trial
That would only be common sense since I'd spent 6.5 hours with her that day. I was the only one of the very few people that had spent the whole day with her leading up to it. So that would only
And that you wanted to give these victim impact statements?
Yes.
You're on a mission to convict this guy. That's what...
He convicted himself. There's video. He's convicted himself.
You are ensuring, trying to, his conviction.
No,
that's your goal.
I want these people, and I know you might not have a heart and understand, but everybody else in this room, I want them to understand the impact that he has had and his actions has had on so many people. That's what I want.
Right, but we're not even at that stage yet. You are on a mission.
You're bringing this up. He convicted himself. Let's show the footage.
Just so I know. Okay.
Judge, that's all right. Redirect. Mr. Eggert wants to ask about what kind of dad he was to Carter. Tell me about Carter's broken arm.
Well, when Carter broke his arm at indoor soccer, Carter went and grabbed his arm, and Ashley got up from the table right away, going over to him, and he was like, "Don't worry about it. He's fine. He's fine. He needs to toughen up anyway." Jordan had a thing. He'd be like, "I'm raising Carter to be a man." That was his situation. He said, like I said, everybody in his mind was either soft, hard, like like everybody was rated. He had an assumption of who everybody was, and you were either, in his eyes, on his level of being a hard ass, or you were a soft person. Like, that's basically what it was.
He talked about that.
Yes, and he was raising Carter to be a man because Carter's biological father in his eyes was also soft. So he was raising Carter to be.
How old was Carter at this time?
At the time.
I don't think any of that statement was ever revealed. 724.
Oh, well, I mean, this is redirect. I'll overrule that. I'll overrule that objection. Go ahead. Okay, the question is, I guess,
How old was Carter at the time that we're discussing?
He was 9, about to turn 10.
9 turning 10.
He's 11 today. He'll be 12 in August.
Broke his arm at soccer.
Yes.
Jordan.
Is what he said that to him, not just even at soccer, like his. The arm was broke. Carter got slammed into, over at the sports place, he got slammed into the wall. And so Carter came off the field, and Ashley got up to go check on Carter. And he was like, "Don't go over there, don't baby him. He's fine." Ashley obviously left. So it was just Carter, or just Jordan and me, my husband, and our other friend that we've talked about. We were all sitting at a table, and he goes, "She babies him too much." He goes, "I don't want him to grow up to be like his dad, because his dad, he's a weak man." He goes, "I'm raising him to be more like me. Carter's more like me." He goes, and so that was his mentality with Carter, was don't show emotions. During soccer games, if Carter got knocked down, he'd be like, "Suck it up." He didn't want him to show emotions, which is why I feel Carter couldn't show emotions and has not shown emotions since his mom's death, is because of the way this man has raised him.
Nothing further.
Free cross.
Thank you, Judge. That whole encounter in soccer, that's not in your statement either, correct?
Did it need to be?
No, it didn't.
Is
the answer no? It's not.
Yeah, the answer's no.
Right. Now, and one thing Carter said, he wanted him to grow up to be a man. That's one of the things he said, correct?
Jordan said about Carter?
Yes,
Yes, he wanted him to grow
I
up
want
to
him
be.
to grow up to be a man.
Yes.
All right. Now, this thing at the soccer game, all right, and when you say, well, he had this and that, are you aware who ended up taking him to the hospital?
Ashley and Jordan, because they were there together.
And are you aware who was with him during surgery? Ashley and Jordan? Are you aware of that? And are you aware who was there when he got out of surgery? Jordan? No one knew that this necessarily broken at first. He was the one who went to the hospital, stood there during the entire surgery. You aware of that?
And yes.
The answer is yes?
Yes.
Charles.